Welcome to the Doctor of Living podcast. This is podcast number 4. I'm Dr. Jeremy. Podcast 4 is entitled How to Make Your Love Life Better.
Eat healthier. Move with purpose. Avoid toxins. Find emotional wellness. Build connections. Welcome to the Doctor of Living podcast, where we can help you reveal your healthiest mind, body, and soul. The time is now to find the zing in your life. Join us, learn, and grow. If you haven't yet reviewed our terms of use and privacy notice, please do so on our website before listening to this podcast. If you continue listening to this podcast, we assume that you have agreed to Doctor of Living's terms of use and privacy notice. Check with your personal physician before making any lifestyle changes. Any reproduction of this material without express written consent from Doctor of Living is forbidden.
Thanks for joining me today, everyone. This podcast is entitled How to Make Your Love Life Better. It seemed fitting since we just celebrated Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day can be a very special time for many of us. It reminds us of the importance of love in our relationships. Love is associated with healthiness, really, and vibrancy, overall love of life. One of the most important parts of our love is our love life within the relationship itself. It's our belief at Doctor of Living that a healthy love life is a reflection of health itself and all 5 pillars of Doctor of Living's 5 pillars of health. Healthy nutrition, for example, leads to healthy sexual performance and strong sexual desire. Healthy love life leads to regular, healthy physical activity. Healthy physical activity has an impact on unhealthy love life. Toxins can damage our bodies and impair our love life. A healthy emotional state is important to achieving a healthy love life. Finally, a healthy love life and a supported relationship leads to a deeper spiritual connection with your partner. When we consider our partner's needs first before our own desires, we have a deepened spiritual connection within that relationship. For some of us, however, our love life hurts. It may be hurting in the sense that it isn't what we like it to be. And it may be hurting in the sense that we are literally physically in pain. It may be hurting in the sense that our feelings have been hurt somewhere along the way with our love life or in our relationships. Whatever the case may be, if your love life is hurting, we'd like to talk about some of the steps to helping your love life heal. First off, let's start with relieving some angst about love. When discussing this topic, it can be uncomfortable. So many of us feel like we can't even talk about our love life. Many of us have religious beliefs too that help guide our beliefs on our love life. So let's look at Christianity. Christianity is the largest religion in the United States, representing approximately 73% of the total population. Judaism is next at 2.1%, and Islam is third at 0.8% of the U.S. population. In light of this distribution of religious beliefs, I thought it would be helpful to seek out some advice from the religious text of these 3 religions as it relates to love life. I started with Christianity. Here's a quote from the Bible. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer, but then come together again so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Of course, in this context, he's talking about sex. The Jewish Torah requires that a husband fulfill his wife's need for intimacy. In Exodus 21-10, it lists marital intimacy as one of the 3 basic things that a husband must provide his wife, in addition to food and clothing. In Islamic law, marriage is greatly encouraged in Islam, partially because it provides a lawful institution in which to fulfill one's sexual urges. The implication of the advice in all three of the U.S. major religions is that your love life is important within a marriage. It's important for your relationship, as the inherent tendency of all of us human beings is a desire for love life. As such, if your love life is not fulfilled inside of a healthy relationship, then you or your partner will find an unhealthy alternative. Most of us won't have problems with our love life as newlyweds, but most of us aren't newlyweds very long. Then life happens. For many of us, we accept that our love life may not be as good as it once was. Sadly, I think many of us even anticipate this is going to happen. The truth is, though, we've learned from the religious wisdom our love life is very important and should be practiced often. Yet many of us are suffering in silence right now, victims of a poor love life and waiting for just the right time to reach out to someone we trust to talk about pressing issues about our love life. Things that are on our mind, things that are in our heart. One study showed that even when people are having trouble with their love life, they're unlikely to discuss it with their very own physician. And to be frank, even as a physician, many physicians probably aren't bringing that topic up at their regularly scheduled annual appointments. And even when the patient does bring it up, it's often not met with the type of response that patients want or need. Our health determines our love life. This is a key facet that I think is often overlooked. For some, maybe it's intuitive. Health leads to good love life. Maybe good love life leads to good health. They're both inextricably linked, truthfully. Our health plays a major role in our love life in two ways. First, how often we experience a healthy love life. And second, how satisfied we are with the love life we experience. One study interviewed over 15,000 people about the impact of health on their sex life. The study authors state that it was one of the largest population surveys ever conducted on how health conditions affect the frequency of sexual activity and enjoyment of sexual activity. The bottom line, when our health is bad, our sex life suffers. And that's a big problem with the rising incidence of chronic disease in the United States and in the world. The differences found in this study between those who had sex in the previous 4 weeks in people with, quote, bad or very bad health and those with very good health were quite dramatic. In men, only 35.7% of participants had sex when health was described as bad over the last 4 weeks, versus 74.8% who had sex within the last 4 weeks when health was described as, quote, good. For women, it was 34% when health was described as, quote, bad, versus 69.3% when health was described as, quote, good. Satisfaction was also reduced when health was bad. In men, a mere 45.4% were satisfied when health was bad, and 69.5% were satisfied when health was good. In women, 48% were satisfied when health was bad versus 65.6% when health was good. It may seem intuitive that as we get older, our health will suffer. And as it does, so too will our love life. The study did find that people's sex life declines after 45 years in men and 35 years in women. Still, half of people reported having sexual activity in the past year between 65 and 74 years of age. And 39.3% reported sex in the previous 4 weeks in that age group. Love life as we get older can be important for maintaining our health and most certainly is a reflection of our overall health. So how do we move forward? The topic of love life is still, even in 2019, uncomfortable to talk about for many people. even though these ancient texts teach us that love life was important even 2,000 years ago, and older than that in the Judaic text. Yet we still have difficulty discussing it. It's just flat out uncomfortable for some people, but that doesn't mean that it isn't important. For most couples, it's part of how we define the quality of our relationship. If one partner is having difficulty in this department, it can place a real strain on that relationship, leading to arguments, assumptions, and even despair. If you're experiencing any of these emotions, you're not alone. Our approach to the mind, body, and soul gives us at Dr. Living the unique perspective on all facets of our health. And this brings us to my suggested stepwise approach to making your love life better. Step number 1, take an honest look at the state of your love life. Take a deep look in the mirror and ask yourself, only yourself, whether or not your love life is where it needs to be. Could it be better? Do you want it to be better? Step number 2, discuss your love life with your partner. Discuss specifics. Talk about why it isn't up to speed, or maybe why you have concerns yourself. Is it your energy level? Is it the time of day? Is it the distractions in your life? Is it the inability to perform? Is it the frequency that it occurs? Is it your mood? Is it your reflection of yourself or your self-image? As you're discussing this with your partner, you will find increased support and decreased frustration just like that. You have to talk about it. It's important and it needs to be discussed. This is really an important step. One common physical problem for men that may come up is erectile dysfunction. If you or your partner has this problem, you're not alone. One study found that 5 to 20% of men have moderate to severe erectile dysfunction. And the same study found up to 70% of men with ED are not treated. This was a little bit of an older study, and I suspect things are changing now. But the truth is there are many men out there suffering today that are having problems with erectile dysfunction, and they aren't getting any treatment. This problem can be addressed with medications, and it also can be addressed with lifestyle. We have actually planned another podcast completely dedicated to erectile dysfunction and lifestyle. So please stay tuned. There's going to be some tips and tricks within that podcast that I think will be valuable to a lot of people. The incidence of ED can be associated with diets and lifestyles that also cause heart disease and stroke and high blood pressure. So the identification of ED in a relationship is very important, and its impact on your love life. It actually may save you or your partner's life. So let's start talking about it. One common physical problem for women in sex is that sex can be painful. In one study, dyspareunia, which is the painful sexual activity that can occur with marked distress, occurs in up to 10 to 20% of U.S. women. This can be from multiple different reasons, but often involves a specific reason, often treatable. If you or your partner have this problem, please start with discussing it with one another, and then let's start looking for solutions. You got to identify the specifics when that pain is occurring. Often vaginal dryness can be a contributing factor, and this can be treated. There are numerous other potential problems, including one's mental health. Depression, anxiety, both can impair one's love life. It may be one's body habitus or weight. It may be one's medical history, including a history of heart disease, for example, or diabetes or high blood pressure. All of these factors contribute to overall state of health, and has been identified previously. Your health determines your sex life, and we got to get to the bottom of what's causing problems in your love life. Step number 3, Write down your concerns. I know this step seems obvious, but so many people